you also met Nishiyama, had a chance to
Oh,
the
yeah,
karate
yes,
legend.
yes.
Yes.
Nishiyama, and also is it Ueshima, the head of karate? No, I'm trying to think. It was
Funakoshi.
Funakoshi.
Yes.
Funakoshi. And
What do you think of Funakoshi? You had so he was alive at the time, so you had a chance to talk to him a little bit, yes?
A little, you know. He was. I didn't really. I just saw him.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, and he would make speeches and give instruction. Knowing Nishiyama would have me come to the Japan Judo Federation.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big dojo, and I photographed some of that. They tried to get me to also do judo, karate rather. But the judo was so competitive that your feeling was if you stopped practice one day, you would retrogress.
Mm-hmm.
So the karate was interesting, and like I say, I had a background of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt boxing was better, I have to be honest with you, because they did too much kata. And the kata to me, as a boxer, really looks stupid. I hate to say that, but not that it is.
Sure.
But they had a purpose for it. But I'm used to give one, take one, you know, with the gloves, not boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And, you know, because boxing, you do a lot of this type of thing. So, but those forms, that the way they stood, would be a disaster in judo. Because you cannot be stiff like that.
Yeah.
You'll be thrown. So my interest was just in judo, to be better than people that are better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I didn't do that. So I got to know also Yamaguchi, the cat.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be good friends. And he really wanted me to do karate. And he would give me all sorts of demonstrations. I was there with this French judo player once in his dojo. And there was a post in his dojo. Mm-hmm. And at one time he hit the post. And the dust up above. Boom! I like that. This French guy, if I saw him, he went, oh, wow! What a punch. I mean, he just made all the dust in the rafters just go like that. He was fantastic. And he did this, not only the way he did his karate, the breathing, mm-hmm. which I really thought was fantastic, is the breathing and tightening the lower abdomen, because I had learned the power of breathing in judo, mm-hmm. using breathing from the lower abdomen. And this gave me not only more power, but it stabilized my mix of oxygen and carbon dioxide, so I didn't hyperventilate, I didn't get tired. My energy was almost endless by the way you breathe. It actually gave me kind of power, and it made me where I didn't get tired, exhausted. And so when I met Yamaguchi, I really appreciated what he had. But a funny story is, in order to get to Yamaguchi, I used to practice at the police academy, Keisho, on Saturday mornings. Friday night, we decided to go to visit Yamaguchi. But to get to his place, you have to walk through the big red light district in Tokyo called Yoshiwara. And there's all the girls out in front with the kimono. Oh, please come here, that type of thing. And I had to walk right through the main street. The next morning, I'm at the police academy, and the police are saying, "Oh, Sharp-san, you were in Yoshiwara. Everybody knows me at Tokyo." I couldn't get away with anything. And then one of my later teachers, very important, was Ishikawa. And I've written an article about him, a life of him. And Ishikawa, he was also, had been two-time champion, and he's the one that had a draw with Kimura. Mm-hmm. It was the only time in history that they had, for the champions, dual champions. And Mifune was the referee.
Oh, okay.
So they fought, and after the time, it was the two judges and the referee put up both flags. That means draw. They couldn't make a decision. So they have an extension of, say, 3 minutes or whatever. Now, normally in Japan, on the big tournaments, you go to at least 2 extensions, and then after that, they have to make a decision. Who seemed to be the better guy? Just judgment. Sure. They only had 1 extension, and Mifune decided there's no use going on.
0.
Okay. Now, Kimura wrote an article called My Life in Judo. And in it he tells about that match. And he says, I knew if we went one more time, I understand how I can get him. Ishikawa tells me the same story. He says, I was so disappointed. I knew if I went one more time, I would have him. So each one in their own mind. Now, Ishikawa, the reason he really told me about this fight was he was very big on the mind, mentally. He had a major change on me, too, on the use of my mind. He almost doubled my power by some things he taught me. And he told me that in one of the matches, early matches, he was fighting Daigo. And Daigo came into him, I think, with Uchimata, the thigh goes between your legs, and actually injured him. Now, I thought at the time that it was his spine was injured, but it was, apparently it actually crushed one of his testicles.
He missed the muscle, he probably hit him.
Yeah, but he really, and Ishikawa collapsed, went out when that happened. When he came to, they wanted to know, finished? He says, no, I'm going to fight. So even with this pain, he beat Daigo through Daigo. Then he fought Kimura with this pain. So he was showing me the power of the mind, how he was able. When the match with Kimura was over, they declared it, he collapsed and they took him to the hospital. So he influenced me on the use of the mind. I started getting more serious when I would fight. I used to be kind of a happy fighter. I would always smile. I had a good time. And some of my senseis would say, sharps up, fight, they get serious. And with Ishikawa, he influenced me, and I got very serious. But I was in control. It wasn't crazy serious. It was deadly serious. I'm going to get you. There's no question. It's just, how am I going to get you? Help me. Get your grip. See? And I became much more powerful. And many years later, now we're 2 old men, and he's here in America, and he was driving me to the airport, but he was confiding in me. His son had committed suicide years before, and this always really bothered him. And I said, well, Sensei, you've done so much to help people, and in my case, you made my heart twice as strong. And he said, I understand, but let me tell you this, if you ever use that power for evil, you will lose it. And that was like Star Wars, oh my gosh. So that was a great experience, knowing him. He taught me ways to balance on another person, how to put my mind in my elbows, little things, ways to grip.
But those little things are sometimes more important than the big things.
They're the things that made it work.
Yes.
And so, but I was ready. You have to understand, if I had that instruction when I was just, say, a first-degree black belt, I might not have really picked it up.
Sure.
I wasn't ready for it. Yes. At this point in time, I was ready for that instruction. And for some reason it really, and in fact, the last time I was visiting Japan, I was out with Osawa, and he wanted to give me his red belt. I wasn't a ninth. He says, I will recommend you for a ninth. He says, when you were, younger in Japan, he says, you had classic judo, and I could hardly throw you. And that was a real compliment. That's because of this picking up, becoming a part of the other person and how the feeling. So I became, well, people had a more difficult time throwing me. Now, if I ever tightened up a little bit, defended, then I could get thrown. And likewise with my opponent. The best thing you can do for me is to defend. If you defend, no problem. Structurally, you're weak. I learned to do it. So that was my thing with Ishikawa. It really had impacted me.